Yeah, this just something like I looked at my life, then I looked at my wife, like I did something right. Look, I'm not switching my price. Baby, I know what I'm worth. I be like, thank God it's Monday. I get to get back to work. Hey.
All right, what is going on, guys? This is the Empowered People Podcast, where you know what we do. We tell, share, and listen to stories that are meant to motivate us to action, to motivate us to move. And we believe so much success, opportunity, education only comes when you're willing to get up and move. Willing. And the only person I know that's willing to get up and move at any time, all the time, always, is Brennan Kelly. I hope you've been tuning in. If you haven't, we've already done 2 episodes where the Empowered People and host are kind of talking about some cool topics, deep diving into what does it mean to pursue business and excellence, but also at the same time not kind of forfeit who you are, not lose who you are and your priorities and things like that. So I know we have 2 episodes already up, and today, Brennan, why don't you introduce yourself and the topic that we're talking about?
Okay, that was a great way to summarize what we've been doing, because I've been like, people are like, so what are you and your brother-in-law doing? I'm like, I don't know, talking, but what you just said about business without losing yourself, that's really good. Yeah, I'm Brennan. Me and my wife just started last year we started Hosts Fitness, which is a nutrition and fitness programming business. Today, me and Josh are going to be talking about identity. And we both wrote down a couple questions that we're going to ask each other. We haven't pre-planned this at all, so it's just going to be off the top of our head what our answers are to it. But we're just going to kick it off with identity. Which was recommended by Elijah Berkmeyer, so give him a shout out for being a loyal listener.
Yeah, no, it's great. Dude, it's so funny whenever it's like one of those weird things. So like, dude, I just remember like while growing Empowered Electric, dude, I got criticized by so many people. And what's funny is before we hit record, you kind of asked like, how much do you want to share your faith, or how much do I think is appropriate or anything? And I think like, you should always share what you believe to be true about yourself and your world and your beliefs. And it's not a way to say, hey, you're stupid if you don't believe exactly how I believe, but my beliefs do shape me. I mean, that's one of the things that I talk about with identity is your beliefs. But it was weird how many Christians came against me as I was growing Empowered Electric for a variety of reasons. Like, how was I going to incorporate Christianity into the logo, into the name, into my business plan? Like, it was all these like preconceived ideas of what it meant to be a Christian business owner and what that had to look like. And I remember it was always so crazy. And as we had success and as we, saw a lot of results, people would a lot of times be like, when's enough, bro? What does it gain the man to, gain the whole world but lose his soul? And I'm like, yo, bro, well, number one, I'm not out here trying to lose my soul, but I think you can lose your soul being broke and poor and 0 results also. So right. Like, I don't think that parable means that you shouldn't chase results. It just says you shouldn't chase results at the loss of yourself.
Right. Well, that verse, easier is for a camel to get through an eye of a needle than a rich man to make it into heaven. It's funny because Jesus repeats himself after that and basically explains to the disciples, hey, it's easier for a camel to get through an eye of a needle than a rich man who puts all of his identity into his riches. It's not someone that's rich, it's someone that puts their identity into their riches.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's and if you're not religious, if you're like, why are we talking about religion so much? I apologize. That's not the focus. It was just, it stirred something up to where I was just like, it was so weird how many like Christians came against me, and like I identify as a Christian, and It's like, I mean, I was just like, golly, guys, like, what do you want me to do? Like, like fail on purpose?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to be doing here?
That kind of leads into what is identity to you? You know what I mean? Because it can mean so many things for different people. If your number one identity is to be a Christian, but then you have someone who is a Christian who's maybe their number one identity is wrapped up in politics or something, then they're going to have a different view of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just because their identity is wrapped up in something else.
Yeah, and I don't know. So I wrote down one of the biggest things. I don't know how you don't be identified with what you do.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know if it's true. Like, I'm not smart enough to do the Google research to know, but like you hear that people were called like John Smith because they were a blacksmith and like that kind of thing. Like they were identified by their occupation. Right. And I don't think that is a bad thing. I think for some reason, I've heard a lot of people kind of come against that like, hey man, you're more than what you do. And I agree with that. You are more than what you do. But what you do is part of who you are. And for me, a great source of pride, what's funny is I have a bigger source of pride of being an electrician than an entrepreneur. That's really weird, but like I am way more proud. Like a lot of things that I sign here at Empowered Electric, I sign as the founding electrician. Not like I've never referred to myself in any business document as the entrepreneur.
Is it because like trades just sound more like blue collar? Do you think that's why?
I just love it, dude.
Yeah.
I love being an electrician. We're doing evaluations right now, and like I'm talking with all the like apprentices and things like that. And dude, I still love it. Like
that's funny to hear you say, because I wouldn't necessarily like think that, you know, of you.
Yeah.
Like I would think you'd identify more with like because that's what you hear you talk about the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's really, I think I'm a passionate entrepreneur because I'm passionate about electrical.
What you're doing. Yeah.
And so like I remember hearing, and I'm not trying to throw shade at this guy, but like it was the guy, the Calm app. I don't remember his name, Michael something. He was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Very, very nice guy. Ran into him at the pool. He talked to me and my wife, showed us pictures of his kids. Like he was such a nice guy. But whenever he got asked to do a meditation, so the Calm app is like a meditation app, right? And he was asked to do like a meditation retreat for all these people at this conference, right? And so there's like 50 people that show up, and he's like, hey man, I actually really don't meditate. I just am really good at technology, and like knew that this was going to blow up like in the health and wellness space. Yeah. And so he basically just turned on a Calm app recorded meditation.
Oh my
was like,
gosh.
this is meditation. And I remember like, it was really weird for people because they were like, this dude, so you can be an entrepreneur and not care about like what you were building. And so for me, my identity for a long time was I was an electrician.
Yeah.
Like I loved it. Like you have a ceiling fan you need installed, call me. Your plug doesn't work, call me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reason was it wasn't just being an electrician. It was being able to provide a great life for my family. So growing up, extremely poor, being to be that provider for my family was really tied up into my job, into my occupation. And I think like a lot of high achievers, they have that inner why. They believe that the job they do matters. They believe that like their job matters. You know what I mean? It's not just punch in, punch out. And I don't know if you think the same way or if you feel that same way, but it would be hard to really run hard after an occupation if you thought like, oh, I actually don't even really meditate. I just know how to write programs. And so I built this program that got me lots of money.
Well, hearing you say that, I would lose all respect for that person. Like, even if I don't want to, even you're saying that guy's a really nice guy, this and that, but it's like, I want to get behind someone that believes in what they're doing, that it works. You know what I mean? And I believe, like, I wrote this little quote that I kind of made up or whatever, and like that your identity is partially where your alliance lies. Like, part of your identity is where your alliance lies. And if you're working for a business, that's kind of who you are a little bit. So I agree with what you're saying, but I've had this back and forth when I was in the Coast Guard of where I kind of tried to convince myself that my identity didn't have to lie in the Coast Guard. But at the end of the day, like 70% of my time is spent there. Like when I was working, when I was on a ship getting underway, like I can't help but have it be my identity. I put that uniform on and I become that. Through boot camp, they strip you of your identity. That's kind of like what boot camp is. It has like this brainwashing methods basically of losing who you are and becoming a Coast Guardsman. You sing mantras, you do chants. It's kind of like, cultish in a way. And so I had to get wrapped up in that. But I was trying to convince myself, how can I not be wrapped up in it? How can I have my identity in as a father, as a husband? And it gets hard when things take up so much time. If you're working 60 hours a week, you know what I mean? It's going to be hard 100%. For that not to be your identity.
Well, and that goes into a bigger purpose. Going back to, dude, we live in an age right now where so many people are depressed. So many people are on anxiety medication. Like so many people, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't take medication. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying, what does that stem from? And dude, if you're spending 40, 50, 60 hours at a job that you hate, that you are pushing against, that you don't want to be identified with, that you don't enjoy, that you don't think is making a purpose, yeah, I would be depressed too. I would have some anxiety. I would have depression. I would like face a lot of inner demons if I'm spending all my time doing that.
Right.
And that's where like I would say to so many people, rather than fighting against like, hey, I don't want to be known by my occupation, it's like, dude, be more serious about choosing your occupation.
Right.
Because I think like a lot of people are going to identify you, whether you're wearing a Coast Guard uniform or not, or if I don't have a tool belt on at all. Like, even though I'm not an electrician now, right? I'm an entrepreneur. It's like I had a buddy yesterday, hey, my GFI is not working in my bathroom.
Right.
What the heck? What do I do?
Right.
You know, like I get those calls. Like people are going to identify me as that. And if
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, I'm not an electrician anymore, I'm an entrepreneur, why are you calling me with that crap? Like, that's not a pleasant experience. That's not a life-giving experience.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause stress and friction
Yes.
in my life. And so it's like learning to like accept the fact that like your work is going to be an identity marker for you, and being more thoughtful on what you pursue.
Right.
You know, like, dude, sorry to call Matt out, but I remember like he was talking about in the Empowered People business cohort, his personal elevator pitch was dope because he was like, hey man, 5 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing with my life or how I was going to provide for myself or anyone else. Now, as you know, a head estimator here at Empowered Electric, I'm providing for over 50 people and their families. And it was just like this dope, like, that's what you're doing.
Yep.
You're not just counting light fixtures on a piece of paper. You're providing for Paul Schneider and Woodrow and Josh Pope, like, so that Josh Pope can go on the most dope honeymoon possible. He's got to have jobs, which means Matt has to win. And it's like when you have that full spectrum of like what you're doing, it's like way cooler than.
And I'm not a history buff or anything, but I think it was like World War II where like the assembly lines were kind of rolled out, and then our society kind of got caught up in this thinking of like you work to pay for your food, to provide for your family, and then we have like consumerism, and just our identities are wrapped up in our culture, in our society. We can't help it. It's what we see. It's what we do. But before that, there was a time where, you know, you were working the farm with your family and you're around your family all day and this and that, and people were fulfilled, and like you wonder why depression and all these things are on the rise, and you can't help but take a look at what we've built. You know what I mean? It's just, and it kind of like, I don't mean to sound like, I don't know, like just out there with it, like Armageddon-ish, that like we need to like rewrite everything, but there is a way to find the happiness within what you're doing. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I totally. And just to let you know, like, I mean, I don't think that you find your whole identity. I think you find it's like, dude, like referencing the Bible where it says like, love the Lord your God with all your mind, body, soul, and strength. Like it breaks down the like different parts of your being.
Right.
And it's like, I think there is a part of you, I don't know what part, but there is a part of you that has to love your job, has to love your occupation. And if you don't, you should be able to pivot and try something different, which leads me to a question that I had for you when I was thinking about this, because your identity for a long time I knew, and we had talked about this on the previous podcast, but your identity was so built up and wrapped up in finishing rescue swimmer school and becoming a rescue swimmer. And of course, you know, medical reasons and things, like you failed to accomplish that. And I'm wondering how like a previous big failure in a pursuit that you thought your identity in, has that affected the way that you're pursuing host now and kind of looking to the future? Have you kind of pursued it a little bit more reluctant, or like man, that hurt? I don't know if I should run.
No,
that fast.
I have zero regrets, zero bitterness inside towards rescue swimmer school. So now what the difference is, when I was chasing after rescue swimmer school, a lot of it was selfish desires, and it was what I wanted to accomplish, and it was how I wanted people to perceive me. You know, this kid from Kearney, who everyone in Kearney knew me as like a pothead or whatever through high school and this and that, like became this guy who's jumping out of helicopters and rescuing people. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it was tied up, even though I do want to save people at my core, and that's what the core of it was. A lot of it was tied up into selfish desires. Like that's kind of what my identity was trying to like prove myself. And so with chasing after hosts, it is completely different. Like I can't even compare it, because I know what I'm doing is what I'm meant to do. You know what I mean? I have zero question where I would have identity crisis when I was in when I was in rescue swimmer school and I would see these college swimmers and college water polo players around me, and I would have an identity crisis. Like, am I meant to be here? Am I in the wrong place? You know, is this what the calling is my life? Like, do I really want this job when I get it? Cause like, it's not that glorious when you get like, you know, I have friends that are rescue swimmers and it is hard. Like, it's a lot of time away from family. And, so with hosts, it's just completely different because I know I'm on the right path. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. In one of the podcasts we recorded with Johnny with Spread Love, dude's awesome. We were talking and it said, dude, it's so funny that a lot of times when you get where you want to go, you realize that it's not where you want to live. Like once you get where you want to go, you realize like, I don't, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I thought it was. Cause even like, you know, he was doing like rap, right out of high school. And it's like, bro, do you want to tour 350 days out of the year? Do you want to like live out of suitcases in a bus all the time? Like, I know you think you do, like, cause you're just thinking about the stage.
Yes.
You're not thinking about everything else that's associated with it. And, you know, I think it's so important, you know, kind of like you were saying, like with saving people or providing with people, that's been the biggest thing for me as an entrepreneur is like what it provides for other people, the opportunity it provides for other people. And, you know, not going to lie, those other people also are my family.
Right.
And I think being Bridget's husband, being Cooper Lewis Martin, Corey's dad, I think is the most important thing. One of the most important things, one of my three.
Right.
That identify me as a husband, as a father, as a big thing, my family. And if, you know, I was lopsided and focused too much on, you know, my identity or on work and I could lose that, I think that'd be tragic.
Right.
And, you know, I would never say, because it's funny, like, you know, dude, so I don't know if you've experienced this, but like we've had a lot of friends that have dealt with like infertility, where they've tried to have, you know, get pregnant for years. And it was like, dude, me and Bridget, it's like, we just like stopped trying to stop. Like, I mean, it's just like 4 babies, like healthy, everything was great. And like, I would never want to say like, kids complete you or a spouse completes you. Cause there's a lot of people out there that like might never have a spouse or might never have kids. But I think that family can be a broader term.
Right. Yeah. It's like, the less selfish you are, the more fulfilled you're going to be. The more you're pouring into other people, like you as a leader and business owner, you're pouring into the people you have underneath you, you're pouring into your wife, so in general, you're just going to be a more fulfilled person because you're seeing like the smiles on the faces that you're putting it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we have to stop for a second because Brennan said that if I do anything but listen to him, he gets distracted. I needed to open this can of hop water. Hop Water's not a proud sponsor of the Empowered People podcast yet because they won't return my email, even though I'm getting thousands of people to buy these things. Hop Water, check them out on the website, YouTube show link, whatever. But no, so I heard this quote this weekend. Sorry, I just had to open this. I heard this quote this weekend that really made me think about like identifying at your family or your home or your close circle, whatever you want to call it. So please don't hear that I think you're less at all if you don't have a family. The people that are closest to you, it said the light that shines the furthest shines the brightest at home. The light that shines the furthest shines the brightest at home. And it's funny right now, like when it comes to identity, right? Like we're trying to grab the attention of everyone out there. Like how many followers you got on social media, bro? How many unique downloads do you get on your podcast? Like how many people out there are paying attention to you? But it's like, yo, these people right here, like they're paying attention to you.
Right.
Like they're focusing on you.
My buddy told me the other day, he said, if you want to reach the world, first reach the people that are in your world. And I thought that was fire. Because it's like you have people around you that you could influence and help find their identity, but instead you're trying to focusing on everyone else.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, I just wish I could have an impact on people's lives, and they, you know, and their business would succeed, and they would go, you know what, my business really took off when I took Josh Levin's Empowered People Business Cohort class, and it's like, you know who would say that? Cooper. Like, that's who would say that. My 11-year-old, well,
Yeah.
my 12-year-old. Like, he would say that. Like, if I gave him the focus and the attention and, like, was interested in the stuff that he was interested in. It's just, like, I don't know, it just really kind of got me, like, thinking so much about, like, stop focusing on the people that you're trying to grab their attention. You're trying to grab their attention, you have their attention.
Right.
So whether that's close friends, whether that's cousins, whether that's a grandma, like, whoever it is, like, I think really, like, focusing in, I mean, dude, I keep pulling Matt in on this conversation, but it's like whenever he goes to things with his mom, he's always like, yo, dude, I'm here to make my mom look good. Like, I'm going to impress. I'm going to be the nicest dude to all her friends. Like, I'm going to leave and they're going to be like, oh, Susan, your son's so nice. And it's like, that's an amazing thing to do. Like, that is an amazing, like, to identify yourself as, yo, I can make this person feel a way that no one else could. And I'm going to take that serious. I'm going to take that important. And I think that really works in family. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
No, I agree 100% with that. And that kind of leads me to my next question, since we're talking about having influence, and you asked me about the rescue swimmer, and I said it kind of forced me to have identity crisis. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on basically what you would tell someone who was going through identity crisis. Like, what are some things that you would maybe help prompt them in order, like, in the direction of finding themselves? So I was thinking like just teenagers a lot of time. Like, I was thinking about this, if I would have had one person, you know what I mean, that would have, like, helped me find myself or something, that it would have just looked differently, or someone that's like retiring and they've built this life in the military and but now they don't know who they are and they're 41, and you know what I mean? So I was curious of what you would, and that's on the spot. He didn't have time to prep for this.
No, I think so. If someone's going through an identity crisis and they're like, who am I? Dude, I don't think you're going to find yourself watching TV, probably honestly sitting in a room by yourself reading a book. I know that's going to, like, fly in the face of, like, no, what about the Bible? I don't know if you're going to find a lot of yourself by yourself. You've got to get out. You've got to get around people. You got to start doing things. And so, like, you know, to a military person that just got out, you know, is he volunteering at the VFW hall? Is he joining a CrossFit gym? Is he getting plugged in at the YMCA? Like, what can you do to get out there? Because I feel like I've made the analogy, and this isn't, like, smart. This is poor. Like, growing up, we had all these cars without power steering. And if you've ever drove a car without power steering, dude, you cannot turn that wheel when it's sitting stationary. Like, you just can't. But once the wheels start turning, I don't know the way friction works, you can turn the wheel a lot better. And so when someone's like, I don't even know who I am, it's like, you got to get moving. You got to start walking. You got to get out there, get active, join a group, join a club. And, like, I don't mean join a CrossFit gym for the next 3 years. I mean, maybe you join it for 3 months and then you meet someone that tells you about a chess club, and then you join the chess club, and, like, it leads to you finding yourself. And I just really think, like, getting out there and doing things, I think that's underrated. Like, everyone's like, you know, and I do it with my kids, where it's like, if you sign up for a sport, you're not going to quit. And it's like, so you have it in this mind, if you start something, you have to keep doing it forever.
Right, dude.
And it's like, dude, be quick to quit. Like, try a bunch of things, and if you don't like it, stop. Like, go do something different, because, like, you can do something and suck at it, but you like it, and you know you're going to be good at it if you worked hard. There's some things you do where you're like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would say. Like, kind of ask yourself, what do you like? Get out there and try some stuff.
Yeah, just be very intent. Like, I really like that, because it's like, just be intentional with your time. Like, I was thinking about this subject, and I was thinking, like, your greatest consumption becomes, like, your greatest influence on your identity. Like, if you're constantly, I was just thinking of how much my identity has changed throughout the years, and it always seems to gravitate towards what I'm consuming a lot of at that time. Like, my identity used to be so wrapped up in, like, sports and, like, watching sports and fantasy football. And it was because, like, every day I'm listening to fantasy football podcasts. Every day I'm doing that. You know what I mean? And it's not that that's bad, but when I kind of step back, and when you begin to know yourself, you can kind of take a step back and look as an observer and see how you're reacting to different situations, and be like, oh, this isn't how I want to look, like, or this isn't who I want to be. And I was kind of becoming something that I didn't like with something as small as fantasy football. It was just consuming too much of my life. And then that's when I kind of started like getting way more into health and stuff like that and just researching. I said that to say, like, I really like your point. Like, don't just sit in your room and watch Netflix, because you can just get caught up in that. Like, Dragon Ball Z is kind of Matt's identity, and it's a problem. Not just joking. He just watches so much of it.
No, but and I remember, and you know, it ties closely with family. Like, your identity is going to be found in your family. And I know this is kind of tough to say, because I'm about to say, like, sometimes maybe you have to leave toxic people. That's another thing too. If you're being identified with, you know, some stuff that you don't agree with, some stuff that's bad, maybe you joined a gym or your close friends. I was remembered, I think it was Tony Robbins. He said, like, change your friends or your friends will change you. It's like, you've got to change your friends. Like, you've got to get away. Like, I mean, it's just one of the easiest ways to level up your average. If you're the average of the 5 people you're around, get around better people. And, you know, that's a big thing. Sorry, I just keep thinking about this identity crisis. You know, I've kind of really kicked the crap out of depression and anxiety in my life. And one of the things I say is I'm like, I don't listen to sad music.
Yeah, man.
And I was talking to some people, you know, a couple weeks ago, and they were like, well, it just really resonates with me. I really feel like they can resonate with me. And I was like, bro, alcoholics know you better in a bar, dude, but don't go there. Like, I don't want to feel depressed. Like, I don't care if you feel how I feel. I'm trying to feel different. And it's like, I want to shine bright. I want to have like a good life, and I want to care about the people that are closest with me. And I don't think that, you know, if you don't pay attention to your household, if you don't take those responsibilities very, very, very serious, dude, that's a Bible verse where it's like, yo, if you don't even know how to take care of your own household, you suck. I think that translation's legit.
The
like,
Josh Living translation.
It puts a lot of emphasis on really caring about the people that are close to you.
Right.
You know, and I think it's important, man. Really pay attention to your family.
Totally. It's, put whatever you want your identity to be, put those things at the forefront. Make sure those are the things that are consuming the majority of your time. Yeah.
And dude, you're such a good hoster. You should start a company called Host. No, but I mean, you do invite a lot of people into your family. Like, you have a wife and 2 little daughters, but like, dude, your house is always packed with really close friends. You've moved a lot because of the Coast Guard. What has that been like? Like, how have you navigated that, where it's like, you know, some friendships and some relationships get real close for a season and then you move? Like, how do you maintain those long distance?
Yeah.
How do you focus on the next ones? Because the truth is, too, as you're like gathering your thoughts, like, we're a Lego block. We only have so many spaces that people can connect to before it starts overlapping and falling apart. And it's like, we all have capacity. You can't have 155 friends.
That's a great point. That's something I've been wrestling a lot with, because something I believe to be true about identity is that your greatest strength is always also your greatest weakness. And one of my greatest strengths is how passionate and how much I care about relationships and the people around me. And it can quickly become my greatest weakness because I can get very spread thin, you know, and I can start sacrificing my inner circle for these tens of hundreds of people on the outer circle, you know, and that's no disrespect, but obviously, like, my wife and my kids are going to be my inner circle, you know, and I have to be intentional about time with them. So it does get hard, and it is interesting about traveling around, because I feel like people have been placed in my life at certain points in my life to help me through the identity crisis that I'm going through at that specific time. I remember when we were stationed in North Carolina, I was just going through kind of a identity crisis with where my religion was. And I had grown up very legalistic and do this or you're going to hell and do this and what, and it just kind of had affected me where I kind of fell away. And the church that we started going to in North Carolina, their motto was literally no perfect people allowed. And at the time, at the time, that was the perfect community that I needed. It was people that accepted you with all your sins, with all your mess, your mess. And it was like right when I was going through rescue summer school, it was a very difficult time. So then we get restationed in Portland, and I made amazing friends there, and they were the perfect friends that I needed at that time in life. Like one of my best friends, Shane, I made in North Carolina, and James Rotz, and then in Brian Holmes in Portland, who's like, we talk weekly, and so I just have to recognize what each relationship, and we're going to talk relationships, so I shouldn't get too much into that, but I have to identify what each relationship is and call it for what it is. If those are relationships that they can pour into me and I can pour into them, then those are the people I'm calling when I have trials. I'm not calling someone that I'm usually just pouring into. You know what I mean? And that's something that's just kind of something you have to recognize about yourself. If you tend to be a helper, set boundaries in place so that you're not overextending yourself. Knowing yourself is like your greatest strength. You know what I mean? Like just knowing who you are and what your weaknesses are and identifying those and being so meticulous to point them out when you do them and then change the next day. I just am a huge fan of that, and that's something I try to do every day, is just kind of go through and give myself a scan or a grade of the day and then make it better, because we do form our identity. Some of our identity is given to us, our body, our past, our religion, sometimes it's passed down, our culture, but a lot of it we can form for ourselves, and we can rewrite those wrongs that we might have.
Well, and even the part that you don't get to choose, like your past, that was one of the very first sentences I said to the Juvie Hall kids when I started volunteering and speaking there weekly. Is I remember saying, if you feel frustrated by the past you didn't choose, the parents you didn't want, the genetics you hate, trust me, I know what that feels like. Like, I remember saying that your past, your parents, your genetics, because I was told so much. I was going to be an alcoholic, I was going to be a dropout, I was going to be this, I was going to be that, and it was like you get to, and dude, it's funny. My brain keeps going back to that I Am Not Your Guru on Netflix, Tony Robbins. It's a fantastic documentary about his Date with Destiny event every year. And he just says, like, you get to ascribe the context to the content. Like, what they meant for evil, you can mean for good. Like, you can write it, and it's hard, and it takes work. And like you said, you have to meticulously say, hey, this person meant this for my harm. What can I learn from it? How can I grow? How can I get better? Even if it wasn't someone that intended something like a death. Like, I know people, and I mean, I'm very blessed that I haven't had any, like, we lost my grandma Shirley, and that was like pretty painful, but like no siblings or anything like that. But there's people that just becomes their identity, losing someone in it. Like, I can't speak to it because I've never had to go through it, but there are, like, you can have people around you that can help you get through that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be something that affects you every single day for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I think, just for me to wrap up with the family thing, no, not wrap up the topic.
Okay, I was going to say, I still got a question for you.
Sorry, wrap up about family, is I've been thinking about, I remember Gary Vee said, I want to have the biggest funeral ever. Like, he's like, I want, to affected so many people that they want to come to my funeral. But it's like, that could be a celebrity status. And I was just thinking about, like, the people that will truly be affected by my loss. Like, their life would be forever altered if I died right now. Those are the people I need to focus on. And I don't mean because other people aren't important. Yeah. But if I was going to say, this is my inner circle, it's like, would they be royally effed up if I died? Focus on those people, and like,
that's really good. I've never heard that.
Yeah. I just came up with patent pending.
We'll put that in quotes on Instagram.
Yeah. But I mean, so, once again, cause I want to be sympathetic to young dudes that are like, yo, I'm 30 years old and I've been dumped 7 times to the woman I thought I was going to marry. Like, I'm trying to get married, or a woman that just went through a divorce, or, whatever. I can't think on the spot to say, if you don't have the traditional family, I still am speaking to you that there are people that would be devastated if you were gone. And if you know me and you're close to me, and I'll tell you, I would not like it. But that's what I have for family. My last thing And I didn't want to call it religion because I think it could be a lot of different things. Like at the beginning, I said, like, I identify as a Christian ever since I was 16 years old. And the big thing wasn't, I was speaking in tongues and prosperity gospel or whatever. Really, it was like I was suicidal. I was thinking there was no hope for the world, and Christianity gave me hope. And I realized that's not the case for everyone. Some people have gone through abuse in the church, and there's been some terrible things. But for me, it was the difference between a lack of hope,
which we
and
both have. So if anyone wants to talk about that, like, seriously, you know what I mean? We both have been through that.
Yeah. But I think we all have a standard of right and wrong or good. And so it could be liberal, progressive, conservative, it could be religious, it could be science, like whatever it is that really kind of governs what you think is right and wrong. Because, I mean, I think we all don't want to say there's a right and wrong, but we live like there is. We live like there's some things that we should provide for. Just like I said, like if you have kids, you should provide for them. Like, I mean, I feel like that's like that's something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. As a father, I am a provider to my kids. It doesn't mean I buy them everything they freaking want, but you know what? Truth be told, it is kind of really fun to buy them what they want. Like, that is fun, and it pushes me to work hard so that they have nice shoes for basketball camp and things like that. You know?
Exactly.
Sorry, the reason I think about this, the expectations of conduct with religion is, I remember Tony Robbins in the I Am Not Your Guru. He said, the way that if you change your standards, you change your life. Change your standards, change your life. Stop allowing things to happen to you that you don't want to allow to happen to you. And he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to change your shoulds to musts. Man, I should start eating better. No, I must eat better. Man, I should wake up early and pray and exercise. No, I must wake up early and pray and exercise. And he's like, just change the words that you use. And I was wondering if I asked you, like, what are some shoulds that you should change to musts?
Oh,
are there any that come to mind?
Dang, I was not expecting that. Shoulds. Man, I don't know. Do you have any?
What's something recently? Dude, I should eat better. And I mean, that's just like the easy one. I should eat better. I must.
Okay. Mine that
maybe.
Mine that I've been struggling a lot with is my phone. Like, I don't want to be a slave to my phone. And so I'll say, I'm going to set these boundaries with my phone, or I'm going to start like only Instagramming when I get my iPad out. That way, like, Instagram's only on my iPad and I have to be intentional with it, because it's hard, bro. It's tough to not get wrapped up into like being an influencer, or like, you know what I mean? Or even though we're not at that status, but just like people look to us for inspiration. So being like inspirational and just feeling like that, it can bog me down. Like, where just the other day, I was doing a workout.
Real quick though, if you feel bogged down, one of the greatest things you can do is open a can of hop water. Hop water has apogens and nootropics. Is that how you pronounce that, Brennan?
I think it's adaptogens.
Adaptogens. Okay. After a couple more hop waters, I'll be able to pronounce that word and maybe even spell it. But if you're feeling bogged down, visit hopwater.com.
Shoot. So my phone, man, just the other day I've been recording my workouts just to help me kind of stay, it's like accountability to myself. And I was recording it, and the girls like kept getting in front of it, and I was like getting frustrated at them. And then I'm like, did I set like an expectation to like do this every day to help me? And now it's hindering my relationship with my daughters. And so it's just weird. There's so many like little nuances with that. And I feel like the phone is always at the centerpiece to a lot of those conversations. Like, you're out to dinner with your wife and you pull your phone out, and it's just like, I just really, I guess I must, if I'm saying I should define what having a phone in a healthy manner means to me, needs to be I must, because I really want to tackle it.
Yeah.
It's been driving me crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny, as you said that, it's like me and Bridget go on dates pretty regularly. I talk about it all the time. I think scheduling dates, and it doesn't have to be to the freaking plaza, to Rye. You don't have to drop $100. It could be a very intentional small thing. You go out for freaking McDonald's McFlurries, bro. They're $1. She gets M&M, I get Oreo. We share it. You know what I mean? Do something date night, but it's funny. Like you'll want to take a picture to share the moment rather than share the moment. It's like, why am I trying to share this?
We're all brainwashed. It's tough.
Which I'm not saying don't share
Right.
it. Like, you know what I mean? But don't sacrifice this moment for that experience, for those likes.
I know. It's weird. You just got to figure out a way to get yourself out of that thinking. Like, obviously, there is a way to do it, but you have to have, like, boundaries. There is a way for you to do your Instagram lives, but usually you're doing them when you're on the office. That's why the office is in, or post-workout. It's like your time that you're doing it. It's not trickling into the boys playing catch time. And so it's just figuring out how to have those boundaries. And when you're working from home and stuff, it makes it really hard. Yeah. That's like, somebody needs to write a book on that.
Well, so one of the things actually that I should change, should to must, is at night I'm always like, man, I should read instead of watch TV. And it's like, if I read a book instead of watching TV, like 10:30 at night, get the kids to bed, 11 o'clock, whatever. And it's like, lay down, watch The New Girl, freaking Parks and Rec, How I Met Your Mother. I love sitcoms, dude, or whatever those are called, dude. I freaking love them. And so, but if I watch that, I'm probably going to stay up till midnight, till 12:15, 12:30, and then like probably sleep like crap, right? Because like the blue light or whatever it is, Ben Greenfield will tell you, TV does to you. If I read starting at 10:30, I'm probably only going to read till about 11.
Dude, I pass out. I start reading.
Pass out. But I sleep better, and I'm learning something, and it's good.
Have better dreams too, usually.
Dude, if you take Supplement Superstore's night tea at night to help go to sleep, you'll have the worst dreams ever. It's something about like, it like help. What is it? Estrogen. It like helps like fight against estrogen at night production or something.
And that's where the good dreams come from, or else you're just like slaying dragons.
Dude,
all the
testosterone.
It's like
Walking Dead craziness.
I want to say something on that point though, because you were saying repeat what you said at the end. What was your last statement about the
Walking Dead dreams?
Oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
No.
Where you're going with that?
About books.
Yeah.
Reading at night.
Yeah.
Go to
just
sleep.
rewrite like it. Okay. This is what I was going to say. Like Greg McCown talks a lot about it in Essentialism, and it's have processes towards success. So you saying like, I must stop watching TV, that's kind of unrealistic. Like still have like TV as a treat, but just make it for Friday and Saturday nights. You know what I mean? Like give yourself some grace. It doesn't have to be like when you're trying to rewrite your identity, a lot of people get burnout, and how you avoid that is having some grace on yourself. Like kind of like what we talked about, like with mindfulness, like gently bring it back. You know what I mean? Like have those 2 nights where you can still watch TV and then be disciplined other ones.
Yeah, dude. When we talked about goals, and I'm like, yo, I love New Year's Eve goals because like I know I'm gonna screw up and I'm gonna mess them up, and it's like I'm okay with that because like I'm making progress. And you're right, man. Becoming who you are in your employment, bro, that's gonna take a long time. So like, dude, I worked at Hy-Vee in the kitchen, delivered used cars, did fiberglass repair, did blue tarps on roofs, worked a framing job, worked back at Hy-Vee, answered phones for DST.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I've worked like 20 different jobs in like 20 states.
Yeah.
Trying to find what I was meant to do. And then I became an electrician and fell in love with that. Yeah. And it's like, and all those little things, I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast. Like I learned so many lessons. They formed me into who I was. Like none of it was wasted because I got to add the context to the content.
Right.
Like, I got to describe what it meant and like what I learned from it. And I think that's why like people should really take their 9 to 5 serious.
Yes.
Don't just embrace, I can work this job that sucks really bad and then work on my passion project and side hustle afterwards. Do that for now, but figure out how to shift that and like do what you're passionate about all the time
and make it like enjoyable while you're there. I hate the last thing I ever want to come across in these podcasts is me and you talking like on a pedestal, talking down to people working like a regular 9 to 5 because we're like entrepreneurs or seems like we have it like figured out as far as our passion and our job have coincided, because both of us have like gone through it for years finding that, and each job that we had or each deployment that I had has brought us closer to finding that. So if you're in that position and you don't know what your future holds and you don't know where you want to be, just make the best of it and take it day by day.
100%, dude. And I would never. I've said this over and over and over again.
I haven't said it though.
Yeah.
So.
No. Well, it's like because I remembered it when you said like trying to be an influencer. That's the last thing I want to be as an influencer. I want to be an example. I want to be.
I couldn't remember that word. I was trying to remember. I'm like, what's the word Josh used? So I'm just going to say influencer.
It's the greatest thing ever because it's like, hey man, if anything, I'm dumber than you. I'm not as networked as you. I'm not as skilled as you. I'm not as educated as you. I might have said educated twice. I'm that dumb. Like you probably have greater gifts and skills and ability than I do. I was just ballsy enough to go do it and chase my dream. And you should too. Like you totally can. Like I believe in you. Even if you don't believe in yourself. And I know you're like, you don't even know who I am. Exactly. Whatever. So like, why, like, don't let me push you over the edge or hold you back. Like go chase your dreams because like it is so amazing and so fulfilling. And like, I always joke, or I tell this story over and over and over again, but and I don't want to just harp on employment, but I remember sitting at the conference table, listening to a guy say to me, hey, in 4 years as an electrician, you'll make $25 an hour. And I thought, holy crap, I'm going to be rich. I had no idea how rich I would feel when I would have 25 guys making $25 an hour. Or, however many. I mean, we have a lot of guys making $25 an hour or more. And it's like helping other people achieve success is so addictive. And I had and I would have never known this.
Your identity could have easily got wrapped up in making that amount you're talking about, but then that helped you find what you found.
Yeah, exactly. So like get after it. And then with family, I know it's a grim way to think, but like if you died, who would be devastated? I don't mean who would send a card with $5. I don't mean who would buy flowers. I mean, who would literally be devastated? Put those people on the top of your list. Like, care about those people. Check in on those people. Text those people. Like, that's your inner circle. That's your family. Those are the people that matter. Like, don't go chasing influence and fame and fortune and all that kind of stuff out there when they're right freaking there, dude. You know who they are. You have their numbers in your phone. Like, text them today. Let them know that you care. And the last thing is like, dude, your spirituality or your standards, your education, whatever it is, your morality, like whatever it is that you call yourself to a higher standard. I remember someone said to me one time, they said, no one rises to low expectations. You might have to alter your standards. Maybe you do have some standards that are unhealthy, but like, don't just like throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't just say because you had one bad experience in college, higher education is stupid. Don't just say because, one time a pastor bought a freaking Bentley, screw church. Like, put yourself out there, like learn new things, grow your spirit, grow your mind. Like, freaking, it was funny, dude. I went on vacation. I was talking about yoga, and people were like so against yoga. And I'm like, listen to me. I'm not praying to an elephant god or whatever you think I'm doing. I'm like stretching, but I also am listening to them say, hey, when you feel tension, realize there's things in your past that have hurt you, and you need to try to learn to let them go. And I was like, dang, bro. This dude's like preaching to me. Like, this yoga dude, Travis Elliott on YouTube for free. He's good.
Yeah, that's where my identity is wrapped in the most, is kind of, I want to bridge that gap between people that have been hurt by religion and don't know Jesus. So if there is anyone listening to this and they want to reach out, that's what I'm trying to pave the way for. You know what I mean? Because I know living out in Portland, Oregon, I saw that every day. You know what I mean? People that have gone the other route because they were hurt by the church. And so I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, dude, there's so many people. And I mean, I'm not name dropping these dudes like without their permission, but I know like Bo Nelson and Shane Fowler and freaking Joe Stewart, myself, Joey Ahern with Freeform Shoes. Like, dude, there's lots of people that are on like a spiritual journey that nothing looks the same.
Yeah,
like,
right?
It's all leading to a place of love. And like the identity would be to a place of love and a place of compassion, a place of faith, a place of hope. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, is like, I have hope that tomorrow, like my best days are not behind me.
Yeah.
Like I have hope that tomorrow, like that yesterday doesn't define tomorrow, that like tomorrow can be better. And
that's good.
That's what I'm working towards. And I think there's a lot of those guys that have found that in Christianity and spirituality.
And it looks different. They have different priorities of sins or of values, and each religion is going to have its different thing. But I feel like if we could get to the place that you're speaking of, where it is, our identity is wrapped in love and sharing and caring about each other and taking care of each other and serving a higher purpose, and things would look a lot different in the world right now, rather than pointing fingers like from church to church. Like, and I don't know, it's wild. I have, I know we got to wrap up because we're running late, but I had 2 questions that I wrote down that I didn't get to. So if we could just treat them as a rapid fire. I know I'm going to ask them to you in the car later if you don't answer them now. So we might as well do it for the people. Mine was, did you have a time in your life where you didn't like where your identity was at? And then what'd you do to overcome it?
Yeah, dude. So yeah,
I know you've talked about it.
Well, there's a lot, like, remember I've shared the story in 4th grade where I was pulled into that at-risk class, and was basically said because I came from, a alcoholic family, that my DNA was altered and I was going to grow up and be an alcoholic.
Dude, that's wild.
And so like, that's how I took it. Now, it was probably like a dare class, and like they were probably like trying to be very, like, I feel bad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure those teachers are like, crap, that's what you heard? I was like trying to say, like, we believe in you, Josh. And it's like, that's not what I heard. But so in 4th grade, I remember hearing that. In 5th grade, I got pulled into a sex ed class, a high risk sex ed class, because like I was, a teen pregnancy. And so like, I feel like throughout my life, there was instances where people told me who I was and I didn't have a choice. And that was very frustrating. And so what was fun for me is I remember in those instances saying, hey, you're going to be an alcoholic. Hey, you're going to knock a girl up. Hey, you're growing up in a very abusive household, and, abused people hurt people is a common phrase. And I remember just being like, no, you don't get to tell me who and what I am. You don't get to tell me that. Like, okay, so I'm going to study my stepdad in all his negative aspects, and I'm not going to do any of those things.
That's good.
And it's like, and so like, I mean, maybe even some unhealthy things, but it's like, I'm like, anything he liked, I'm not going to associate with. Anything he did, I'm not going to do. And so like, that's what I did about it, is I didn't let anyone tell me who I was.
Yeah.
I didn't accept their verdict of who I could become. Like, I decided for myself. Like,
do you remember a point when you decided that?
Dude, I remember like being in the class being like, who the hell are you? Like, to get to tell me that. And dude, I did have good people. Mrs. Burke in 4th grade took me on that 5K run. I told this story. I think it's called Lessons Learned.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
was a good one.
7.
That was really good.
She took me on that run and said, don't let anybody tell you how fast or how far you could run. Mr. Pepic, whenever I was bullying a girl, I was shooting her with a water gun. Amanda, I think was her name.
Sorry, Amanda.
Sorry, Amanda. He pulled me aside and he said, hey, I don't care what you see at home. Men don't treat women like that. And so I did have people that kind of kept me on course.
Yeah.
Like, I had that, chip on my shoulder.
Right.
Like, who are you? Tell me what to do.
But you learn more from the negative. I was just telling Johnny this. We were just talking because you guys just got done recording, and I'm like, I've learned more from all the bad leaders that I've had in the military than the good ones, because I've been able to pinpoint what they're doing and say, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to learn the opposite way. And it's like, just like you did, you rewrote your identity.
Yeah. I don't think I had my first drink of alcohol until I was like 27 or something. Like, I was like,
screw those
older.
dare people.
Well,
no,
but,
I'm just joking.
No, that's where I say unhealthy. It's like, I had it in my mind that if I took one sip, it was over.
See,
like,
it can go the wrong way. It can escalate quickly.
So I had to like learn, like, hey, you can drink and not, be a bad person. But so that's how I reacted.
Okay.
When somebody told me what to do.
That wasn't very rapid fire, but
Dude,
all right, last one. What do you think others would say about your identity, and how would that differ from what you believe?
Ask
like,
it
what do you think others would say about your identity that would differ from what you believe about your identity? So like, what are some perceptions people have about who you are that you believe to be different?
Yeah, so people think I'm brash. People think like
Bridget said you would say that.
Yeah. People think I'm very like matter-of-fact, brash, intense, like not sympathetic, not compassionate. I think I'm way more caring and loving and compassionate than people realize. I think in an attempt to be clear, and like be very clear on where I stand on things. Sometimes that can come off abrasive. I love good conversation. And so loving good conversation, I hate the hee-hawing around. Well, I'm not trying to say that, I'm like, dude, just say what you're going to say. Like, I hate this job. Okay, cool. Like, let's find you a different job.
Right.
Like, you don't have to work here. Like, let's just get to it. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things is that, And
it's something that I was talking about this. So it's something that I can visually see you working at and making progress. Because I'm like, when we were going over these questions, I ran it by Bridget and she said, you're going to say that. And I'm like, I don't think that anymore. I thought that 3 years ago about Josh, but I see him in a totally different light because you have been such a steward of working on that area. You know what I mean? Yeah. That it's a similar area for me. And it comes back to what I was talking about with your identity, how your greatest passions or your greatest strengths can also be your greatest weaknesses. And because mine a lot of times is like when I care and when I'm passionate, people will be like, you're just a little too passionate or like something like that, because I'll get talking about health and stuff. So I think we have a similar one, and it usually stems around conversation.
Yeah. And dude, the last thing that I'll say, and then let's wrap this up with that, like you're talking about health. What I realized is when I would fight about the debate about Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and how clearly LeBron James is the GOAT, the greatest of all time, hands down, without question.
You're gonna start losing listeners. Bro. My buddy Callan just hit me up, and he's not listening no more.
No, but what I realized is whenever I would have like an argument with someone, right? Like I just meet you and you're like, oh, I like Michael. And I'm like, I like LeBron. And then I just rapid fire you, bro. And I treat this very first conversation like it's my 110th, because I've had this with everyone, right? And so for you, this is the first conversation you've ever had with me on this topic, but I treat you like it's like the 110th. And it's like, yo, bro, like let's argue like this 2 months from now about this topic. And so whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's health and fitness, it is like have each conversation in the order that you're having them. And if we've never met each other, I probably shouldn't passionately talk about your diet plan. I probably shouldn't question your finances. I shouldn't, get all gung-ho about your occupation. It should be like, hey, how's it going? How are you?
Good advice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just noticed that's what I would do. And there was a guy, it was actually at my kid's school, Sean Hanna. We were like arguing about something, and he goes, it is clear that you have thought about this way more than I have. And it was like, and I won the argument, but I didn't win the friend. You know what I mean? And so it was just like, hey, try to win the friend, not the argument. So anyways, guys, thanks a ton for tuning in. Each and every week, we're going to hit another topic. We got some fun ones lined up. So thanks a ton. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Hey, shine like gold. They don't want